This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here on this truly marvelous edition of this Monday Talk Today. And as I look at Miss Susan, I'm thinking, wow, I got two choices. I could be sailing somewhere at the North Zone, I could be here. Which is better? Well, being next to Susan, much better. Want you to be a part of our discussion as we start things off and tell you about valuations and the like and a chance to understand the importance of it. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today, and thank you so much for joining us as we have a chance to share with you and an opportunity for us to appreciate that globally or locally, the importance of having not just timely, accurate evaluations of our properties or businesses, not just for the economy, but sometimes for our own personal estates. And in the studio, as we tell you more about, I make sure, Mr. Dean Andrews, as you join us, institution. We'll get into that, right? RICS, and we'll tell you more what that means. But Mr. Andrews, thanks for joining us around, and you know, all those guys, you do a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to you.
Appreciate that.
All right.
Thank you so much. So I'm here as representing the local chapter of RICS, which is the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. And we are delighted to have with us today Mr. Ben Elder, who is the RICS Global Director of Valuation based in the UK, which is where the RICS is headquartered globally. He is here actually to teach our members this afternoon a workshop on changes to the valuation standards, which occur every so often, and was thankfully willing to come in here to the studio and to just have a chat about what's happening with valuation standards globally and how that actually filters its way down to what's happening with valuation in the Cayman Islands as well. So I'm very delighted to have with us Mr. Ben Elder.
All right. Mr. Elder, special welcome to you, and I hope that as you not just visit, with Mr. Andrews and his colleagues, but you get a chance to appreciate what Cayman is, and for us to, at the end of the day, benefit through your continued instruction. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's really great to be here, and I've been to Cayman 2 or 3 times before. So it's about the same temperatures in the UK at the moment, which is really quite surprising. But no, it's a really great pleasure to be here, and looking forward both to this afternoon's workshop and also this session here. So thank you.
And as Mr. Andrews was sharing, the idea that lawyers, bankers, and almost all professional associations have a body that helps to regulate its members, ensure the professional, provide continued professional development, ethical standards, so that we as the consumers have something reputable, credible, timely that we can refer to, and ensure that whatever is produced is something that continues to add worth and value to the economy, but also to the practice. RCS is no different.
Yeah.
As we look at it, and we're looking specifically at real estate sector. Now, we'll get into it. When it comes to our real estate industry, here or internationally, what's the value added from RCS perspective?
Yeah, okay. It's a really good question to start with, and quite a difficult one to kick off with. So, no easy ones as you come through. As already been sort of said, I'm very lucky. I have a fantastic job title of Global Director of Valuation, which means I get the opportunity to engage with markets all around the world. And the question about what the RICS can bring to the party is to recognise that the RICS is a professional organisation. It's not a trade association. We operate under a royal charter which requires us to act in the public interest. So we're not here to represent our members. We're here to make sure that our members deliver professional, transparent information that the market can then make decisions on. So it's about creating the opportunity and making sure that the public have access to the information that they require. And when we say the public, it's not just the individuals, but it's also the organisations, the governments within a country, a regional organisation, or even public companies who require accurate information to make good decisions on.
With that, we see sometimes that the general public, the individual specifically, may think of a valuer as someone who would just value properties in particular. A classic example, I want to sell, or I'm going to borrow, I'm going to use it as collateral, I need a valuation, how much is this thing worth? But are there other disciplines within the property profession that the members of RCI practice?
Yeah, sure. We've got a full range of skills which RICS members deploy, again, all around the globe, right the way through from marine surveying. So there will be chartered surveyors looking at the seabed, looking at coral, looking at environmental issues, right the way through the complete development spectre of cost engineering, infrastructure provision, all the way through the whole process of farming, product development. Really, it's a really wide opportunity and profession to be involved in, and really quite exciting when you think about the totality of the information that surveyors get involved in.
Something that I know that you're both keen to share, but I'm hoping that we give a little tease of parents and specifically. This is the summer. Students are thinking of, well, maybe I'm going off to university next year. Maybe I'm going into high school this year. Maybe I'm in university now and I'm not quite sure this math, this accounting, this biology. Is this what I want, or how can I use this? We'll give them an insight into what it will take to eventually be able to join the ranks. So at some point later on, not too long from now, we'll get into that.
Okay.
But if I may ask, as you shared, Mr. Eller, wonderful title. I can see all the accolades and he's not worthy. From that perspective, as you share with us now from the perspective of your role and the appraisals, we alluded to them earlier, but what sort of appraisals are there? And when we're looking at appraisals, how do we get things valued?
Yeah, sure. Again, the industry's changed, like any other industry which is operating. The change in technology, the availability of data, and I'm sure Jim will talk about the availability of data on Cayman a little bit later on.
Yes.
But originally, when I qualified a very long time ago, 1981-ish was when I became a member of the RICS. Being a valuer was very much about interpreting the market, but then quite an element of judgment from the individual surveyor. A lot of that has quite rightly now been moved out by the technology and the information which is available, and it's much more a science-driven process, but judgments still have to be made, and it's providing that accurate information that you can create an audit trail through, so that you can explain how you've come to your decisions and what the information is that you're transferring to the to your client. And for any young person thinking about this as a profession, it is absolutely fantastic. It is a really important process which affects individuals' jobs, individuals' ability to live in homes, the quality of the water that you'll be drinking, swimming in, all sorts of things. Surveying actually helps and provides that mechanism for delivering.
And I would also add, kind of more specifically, the answer to your question about how do things get valued, and it really does vary based on what we're valuing a lot. So, a lot of people will relate to, relate RICS to real estate, which is quite rightly so, probably the biggest component of what RICS valuers do. But even within real estate, so you'll have, from residential homes, which are basically valued on comparison with sales of other properties, to income-producing properties, which are done, more on an investment basis, what kind of rates of return do investors require. Similar to when you're valuing businesses, and RICS also has business valuation people that value companies, and those are also valued on an income or investment basis. And then you have sort of government-type real estate or special use properties that are valued more on a cost basis. So, and it also depends on the application. So, are we doing this for accounting or financial reporting purposes versus, most of our listeners will relate to, valuations being done for bank lending purposes, because when you go for a mortgage and you buy a property, the bank wants it. So, the instructions that valuers are given depend on who they're coming from and on what basis we've been asked to work. So is it market value, or is it investment value, or is it reinstatement value for insurance purposes? And so there is such a wide range of answers to the question based on what we're being asked to do is. And that also as well is why we have specialists that do different things. So a chartered surveyor can't be asked to do it all, right? He can't possibly qualify in a lifetime to do all the things that are the different disciplines that are available to them. So just like any other profession, if you're interested in coming into this profession, which is a wonderful thing to do, you just decide what makes you tick, what makes you happy, and you specialize, you learn to specialize, because it really is true. Learn to do one thing well. Do one thing and do it well is a great philosophy, I think, for a young person coming into university and deciding what they want to specialize in. And there are, it used to be 27 faculties. How many are there now?
Well, we're trying to move down to 4 major clusters. So
right.
Land, property, construction, and valuation.
Right.
But within that, there are 27 specialisms.
Right.
And over 200 small specialisms within that, Jim.
Yep.
But I think picking up on what you were saying there, one of the really important things to recognise in being a professional is that whilst you might have a client, so you might be carrying out a valuation for a bank, you've still got the obligation to be independent and objective. So the requirement for me as a valuer is to act with independence and objectivity, no matter who my client is. So that means that the number gets reported in a particular format.
No, with that in mind, and we'll go back to those 4 areas as well at some point, not even so much the 27 or the 200, but the 4 you mentioned. But if I may ask, Mr. Andrews and Mr. Elder, valuations, Jim, as you shared earlier, there could be varying numbers depending on the requirements or the thing that's being valued. So a replacement value, say for insurance purposes versus the cost to construct, that could determine that property A has this value. What about the instance where potentially the bank, the intended purchaser or seller, or the court, for whatever reason, is asking, I need this property value, so just like you would in some instances when you're doing procurement, ask for 3 tenders. If they want 2 or 3, and they come back, each one comes back with a different number for that particular purpose on that particular property. Sometimes the valuations, we understand, can be different. Is that the case, and if so, why?
Well, it can definitely be more the case when properties are unique. They participate in a market where there's fewer potential buyers and sellers. So in Cayman, for example, if you were to, hypothetically speaking, let's say you go out to East End and you find a property on 10 acres that's got, a 7,000 square foot 6-bedroom house on 10 acres in East End. What are you going to find for comparables? There's not going to be a wide selection of sales of similar properties. So from that respect, then it's up to the valuer to be more subjective about what data they choose and how they use that data to assimilate their value conclusions. So from that, then you might find more of a variance in that situation. On the flip side, if you're valuing a condo unit within, a 200 unit condominium development in South Sound, there might be numerous comparables, and it would be surprising if you'd be more than 5% off. If you are, then we look to, okay, what's the reason? So if someone asked me to review 2 separate valuations to determine why they're significantly different, the first thing I look to is the terms of reference. So what is the valuer being asked to do? Maybe in one case they're being asked to provide a market value. In another case, they might be asked to provide a market value with a quick sale, with a 3-month sale or something like that, in which case there would be the bank might be looking for, well, if I had to sell this in a hurry because I had to repossess it, what could I get for it in 3 months' time? And you're going to end up typically with a lower value in that situation. People often get insurance valuations confused with market valuations. Insurance valuations do not include the land. They only include the replacement cost of the building, and they don't include the depreciation that occurs over time. So the insurance value can be widely different, maybe higher, maybe lower than market value. So you need to look at what are the terms of reference, what are the instructions being given.
Now, in that instance then, could we use just real estate, perhaps because our audience may be a little bit more familiar with it? Person has a property for whatever reason and they want a value. Mortgage, let's just use that for example. The bank is instructing the valuer, the surveyor, to go and do this thing. Is it then necessary for the owner to understand what is it, the terms of reference that the bank is instructing, so that when that value comes back, it is that force a quick sale in 3 months, that it is this insurance, so that they know that the value is this because of that?
I mean, I think, and Ben might want to take this as well on a sort of a global perspective, but locally I would say there's probably not enough understanding of the process. And, for example, the Canadian banks here, we're talking strictly residential real estate right now. The Canadian banks, when they lend money on residential real estate, they have valuers get randomly selected in an online system through an appraisal management company that's like a third-party vendor, and it's not the same thing as if the bank one of the other banks tells you, oh, Mr. Ebanks, go get a valuation and bring it back to me. Here are the ones that are on the approved list. In that situation, you'd have the opportunity to pick up the phone and talk to them and say, exactly what are you going to do and how are you going to do it, and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, Jim. And I think that that whole process of understanding who the client is, even though the third party might have a responsibility to a third party. So the client there, in the case that you just explained, would be the bank, not the person lending the money. So the bank, borrowing the money. But the bank would be the client. The person borrowing the money might get a copy, but it's really important they understand what the valuation was for and the processes. And the other point to recognise is that when that valuation is undertaken, the value is being asked normally to come to a market value, which is a very strict definition under the International Valuation Standard Council's valuation standards. And it's not necessarily the price which is actually being paid. There is a very strict definition, and it's important that all the parties understand those.
I want to pursue that maybe after a break, maybe ask you if there's a particular valuation method that is the best, so to speak. I know and maybe a couple of the questions. Who knows, right?
Okay.
Gents, I'm going to learn a lot here. I'm not going to take the exam after, but I might. Please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
Accidents can happen at any time and can leave a strain on you and your family. Be prepared with Workman's Compensation Insurance from Fidelity Insurance. Our brokers can help you meet your government requirements and ensure that you are covered should an accident happen. Don't leave it to chance. Email Fidelity Insurance at insure@fidelitykman.com for a free quote. Get workman's compensation from Fidelity Insurance and get some peace of mind. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Radio Cayman Super Jam Show.
Tune in every Monday through Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. for
Radio Cayman Super Jam Show,
the #1 drive time entertainment show on your radio.
Another proud sponsor of the Super Jam Showdown.
Love you like a fresh vegetable.
The Georgetown Farmers Market, offering the freshest in local produce, preserves, and crafts.
Be proud to be Caymanian. Shop local at the Georgetown Farmers Market today.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for joining us, but equally, a very special thanks for Mr. Jim Andrews joining us, an opportunity to speak to Mr. Ben Elder, as he said, the Global Director of Valuations for the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. I made sure to look down to make sure that I say it properly, because it's so crucial. As we're talking about valuations and the need for, like anything, an informed consumer to understand. If I may, as we continue talking about the sort of theoretical situation where it's the bank, it's a residential situation. What is it saying? He who pays the piper calls the tune. In Cayman, and maybe you can tell me if it's different globally, an individual in a residential situation who's going to the bank for a mortgage, the bank is going to require a valuation, a current one, to say, hey, this property is, this is the fair value. But the individual is paying for the mortgage, but the bank is sort of instructing. How does that? Why is that?
So it's an age-old problem, this process, and some lending institutions around the globe have moved away from that model, and rather than the borrower paying the valuation fee through the bank, the valuation fee is paid by the bank. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the borrower ends up paying for it at some stage, probably through other charges. But actually, the commissioning process is that the bank commission the valuer. And then normally the borrower would get a copy of that report for helping them to make the decision on and understanding why the bank have made whatever decision it is, whether to lend the money or not. The good lenders will be providing additional advice to the borrower to help them understand the report. But normally for and I guess it's the same in Cayman, but certainly in the UK and many parts of the globe, the report which is produced for a mortgage valuation is quite a brief document. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it would be advantageous or advisable for the borrower to actually get their own independent valuation. Because then the value will be actually working for them. But I appreciate there are additional costs involved in that process.
Yeah, and you as you rightly pointed out, I mean, our responsibility, the valuer's responsibility is to their client. And that's who engages them. That's who technically is who our terms of engagement is with. And in the case of it gets a little bit ambiguous when you have a situation where we know, and the buyer points it out, that they're paying for the valuation, but the bank is making the engagement and the instruction and saying, your responsibility is to us, we're your client. But oftentimes what happens is buyers don't necessarily engage a valuation on their own when they choose to buy a property. And maybe they should, or maybe they know what they're doing, maybe they don't necessarily. So it's possible that they may be paying something that's different than market value for that reason, or it could be a different reason, such as, they just really are in love with this particular property because it's exactly what they're looking for in a different way than the wider market might be, or the seller in this particular situation really needs to sell because they need to leave the island, or whatever the reason why. And so you get fluctuations in the price But the market value isn't based on that buyer and that seller. The market value is based on hypothetical buyers and sellers that are not motivated by that undue stimulus. They're just doing the best they can to hammer out the best deal that they can for themselves, and they meet in the middle, and that's market value.
I mean, with that in mind, I would imagine that, let's say John has a property right here. This is where he lives, and the vacant lot becomes available. John wants it. The market value may be X, but John is willing to pay X plus because I want that to extend my farm. I want to make sure that my daughter gets it or my cats can run freely. John may be willing to pay a premium. The bank will say, well, we're not willing to do that. But what about the instance, if we could continue with a hypothetical where John is looking at a property and says, that's a nice piece of property. Approaches Jean and she says, I'm willing to sell it for, $10,000. Well, that sounds fairly reasonable. He goes and gets a valuation just to make sure. And, the valuator comes back and says, you know what, 10,000 is a good deal. I've actually valued for 11,500, 15,000, whatever it is. The bank gets evaluated and, independently come and say, no, I think 8,000 or, 7,000, 5,000. There's a significant difference between the two. If that situation was to occur, how does that sort of reconcile?
It's again a very good question and very detailed set of circumstances. Like Jim was saying earlier on, that if it's an unusual property, then that variance may be acceptable. If it's on a fairly common type of property or a piece of land where there's a significant amount of market evidence, then that shouldn't occur. And that's partly what the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors do is to monitor the work of their valuers, not necessarily down to the number, but making sure that they follow procedures. And by following procedures and the requirements of the International Valuation Standards, you create an audit trail through the valuation process, so that if the value is challenged at any stage, just in the circumstances that you've described, then the valuer who came at 8,000 should be able to clearly articulate why they've come to that number and how they've got there. And likewise with the other valuation. I see too many valuations by other organisations, other professionals who don't have that underpinning reference point. So they may get challenged in 5-10 years' time over evaluation, particularly if it's a court case, maybe even longer. And remembering what you did that Wednesday morning when you went out to do that valuation and why you actually came to the number is almost impossible unless you have a comprehensive backup file which details all the decisions that you made and why you made those decisions.
So with that in mind then, are there particular valuation methods that are the best? The gold standard is saying healthcare is this. You get the X-ray, or you can go get the MRI. The methodology, the valuation's split up into different steps, and the methodology part is very consistent around the globe. So the basic steps for evaluation process is, first of all, to get your instructions, so your letter of engagement, so really understanding what you're being asked to do and why you're being asked to do it. The second stage will be collecting your data from the marketplace, so gathering your evidence, inspecting the property or whatever the requirements are on that side. And the third step's then applying your data to a recognised methodology. Normally for house sales it will be a comparative method, but for a business or perhaps an income earning property, you'd use a discounted cash flow. So there are different methodologies, but they're fairly stable around the globe. And then the final stage of the process of doing evaluation is creating your report. And there shouldn't be anything in the report which is not in your letter of instruction. So it's a circular process.
And these the methodologies and the process that Ben is talking about and this may kind of go back to what your original question is, are basically the fundamental part of the standards that we follow. So your question may also deal with, well, is there a best set of standards? So, we have, globally there's the International Valuation Standards. And the RICS, had years ago adopted the International Valuation Standards as part and parcel of their what we informally call the Red Book Standards, the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors Professional Valuation Standards, and that is really Ben's job, is to oversee the how RICS and the IVS, which is the International Valuation Standards Council, create and adopt and evolve those standards to meet the needs of the marketplace worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we operate in a global economy, and just like we've just had a World Cup, and England did a bit better than we normally do, so we're reasonably happy. But if we didn't have an organisation like FIFA creating the rules, which are like the international standards, we couldn't have the competition. And the FIFA don't dictate tactics to the teams; those are decided on a national basis. But you have to play within the rules, and that allows international competition to take place. And that puts Cayman in the international market. If you follow the international valuation standards, then you are reducing the risk, because you're providing information on a globally accepted level. And that reduces the risk because all the players understand that process. So it's like the offside rule. Players understand it. They're not saying they don't breach it on occasions, but there's a referee there to pull them back. And now we've had the additional referee in the video room who helped to police that process. And I think you can almost put an analogy with regulation, both state regulation on valuation, but also the regulation which RICS provide through their value registrations.
So sort of global standardized sort of processes, procedures, so that we can see valuations consistent no matter the country where RICS represent. Not unlike the general accounting principles.
Absolutely.
Similar to that.
Absolutely.
Oh, interesting.
There are some variances because in some countries they have different sets of standards. Just like in the U.S., for example, accounting standards might follow U.S. GAAP as opposed to international accounting standards. Yeah. But for the most part, and it's really the IVS has really taken off. A lot of the individual valuation professional organizations. So, for example, in Singapore, you might have, the Singapore Valuers Association or something like that. They join the IVS, and so they become part of the IVS, and they adopt those standards. And RICS has done that, as have many, many other professional organizations that might be government-related in different countries around the world, or might be associations that are just governed by its members.
All right. Well, when we come back, maybe we can ask you more about that as we conclude the discussion, talk about some of the qualifications and training, and maybe how long it takes to get to a standard where you can hang your shingle and, who knows, send your kids to college. Stay tuned. When we come back, more Talk Today.
When it comes to designing a kitchen or a bath, functionality and style should be at the center of your design. Declutter, improve lighting, change cabinets, increase storage, and show your style with the help from experts at Brand Source Home Gallery. Save 20% on the finest cabinets and fixtures this July for Kitchen and Bath Month at Brand Source. The design team can help create the perfect personal spa retreat and help design your functional kitchen, whether designing from scratch or renovating your home. Stop by Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, to save 20% on kitchen and bath cabinets and fixtures.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
Hi, I'm thinking of buying a car from the States. Which port do you ship out of?
Hi, we ship out of Miami, Houston, and Brooklyn. Just let us know your port of choice and we can provide you with a quotation and answer any questions you may have on insuring and protecting your vehicle during its journey.
Shipping shore to shore,
The Council of the Justices of the Peace Association is pleased to advise the public that general document signing services will be provided 3 days a week in front of the lobby of the Government Administration Building, starting July 16 on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 noon. The following services will be provided by volunteer justices: witnessing a signature on an authentic document, certifying a document as a true copy of the original once the original has been provided, witnessing a signature and completing the portion on a Cayman Islands or British passport application, including acknowledging that the photo provided is a true likeness. Please note, a JP must have known the passport applicant for no less than 2 years before signing the application. Identification cards must be presented, and persons seeking the services of the justices must ensure that proper attire is worn when visiting the government administration building.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us as we have the good company of Mr. Jim Andrews and Mr. Ben Elder. And the idea of valuing things, many people sometimes will have something that maybe they inherited, maybe they're having a garage sale, and how much value do you put on this? And there's all a lot of subjectivity, and then there are others who are very specialist. This particular piece of artwork, was created by my 9-year-old granddaughter. It's priceless. And next to the Van Gogh, it probably isn't. Now, when we look at valuations, and as we were sharing country to country specifically, it's probably the same process. And like Mr. Jim, from the perspective of Cayman and its maturing market relative to the big urban sort of metropolis, what is it like practicing here versus there and in those larger developed markets?
Well, obviously in the more sophisticated, or I shouldn't say sophisticated, but certainly the larger markets where you have a lot more transactions and a lot more buyers and sellers, data is certainly more easy to come by, both because it happens, the data occurs, but also because there are a lot more service providers that you can use to buy data, and literally in some situations, in some markets, valuations can be done. I'm sure many of the listeners have heard of like in the States, Zillow, where you could just literally type in an address. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not saying you're going to get the right value out of Zillow. But, there's that many transactions down to the neighborhood and street level. And, of course, they have taxing authorities that know exactly how many bedrooms and baths your house has because you get taxed on that, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas Cayman doesn't have that property tax regime. So we don't have all the data sources, and we don't have as many transactions. So Cayman is getting, so much more developed now, and there's a lot of construction, as we all know, that's been happening. And, the more construction, the more population influx we've had. Certainly it's evolving into a more sophisticated market on a daily, monthly, yearly basis for sure. So it's definitely getting to the point where valuations are a little less subjective and more objective than they used to be.
Okay. If I may ask, a bit of economics, but just looking in the Cayman context specifically, and certainly Mr. Elder, you can weigh in, but Mr. Jim, there were those who said, put your money into property in Cayman because it's the best hedge against inflation. It's not, you can't buy too much more in Miami and bring it in. It's there. And then property values, partly because of inflation, partly because of demand and all of the things, we saw them increasing. Then there was a time not long ago when we were hearing people, wait a minute, my property 10 years ago was valued this, raw land as well as developed property that was maintained, now it's valued a lot less, and we've seen that sort of downward trajectory. Is that unusual for the Cayman market? Is that something that we've seen other markets, housing bubbles here and other issues, but in Cayman, property values decreasing?
Well, it did happen, I think, in Cayman. Even though Cayman is a small market, there are individual markets within Cayman that behave differently. So, for example, 7 Mile Beach property may be in the Great Recession of 2009 through 2012, let's say, because for us it really typically happens maybe a year later than it does up north, right? Mm. We tend to feel the effects a little bit later. But so, say for example, 2009 to 2012. 7 Mile Beach property values, and I'm not going to say this definitively, but perhaps they just remain flat for typical some things might have gone down a little bit. But if you go out to the more eastern districts where you have fewer people that want to live more than 15, 20 minutes away from town, and certainly fewer buyers, and people needed to sell. People need to sell. They need to sell. So there were some examples of property values that went down during those years and then maybe took a little bit longer to stabilize and start coming back up than might have been the case in, say, 7 Mile Beach, South Sound, those traditional areas where you're always going to have a certain core of buyers.
So demand, to that extent?
Yeah, supply and demand. I mean, it's no different to any other commodity, except that it has particular economic characteristics in that supply generally can't be increased quickly. There's a time lag. So if the business is, if there's been a poor year for business, then reflected in property values, whether it's residential or commercial, will depend on the process. Later, probably a bit of time afterwards. And one of the challenges about understanding valuation is an understanding about what it is that you are valuing. And normally, whilst we might be looking at property, it looks at issues of assets and liabilities within the international valuation standards. So actually, you're starting to look at pieces of paper that carry the value. So it's the right to occupy which is of value, and that is recorded in a piece of paper. So again, we need to make sure that all the documentation is completely clean, etc. If it's not, that starts to impinge on the value because you're starting to introduce certain risk.
Now, if I may perhaps invite us to two things as we sort of wrap up our discussion. One is in the issue where the consumer, that customer, if someone may have some sort of concern relative to how valuations are performed or some issue, every professional association has somewhere to make some report. In that instance, for the RCS, the local chapter as well international, if we have a concern?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The RICS for valuation area, actually there are two main mechanisms. One is the same for all chartered surveyors, no matter what discipline you're coming from. So that includes valuation. Anybody can make or raise a complaint against the individual chartered surveyor through a complaints procedure. And the RICS have an independent arm which then investigates those complaints, and there are various sanctions which can be issued against a chartered surveyor who has performed something in an incorrect way. If the case goes to court, RICS step back because the legal proceedings will take place at that particular point. The other way that RICS have recognised valuation as being really important to the economy in general is to introduce our value registration scheme. That's a proactive regulation of our valuation members. So our valuers in Cayman as well as other parts of the world have to do an annual return to the RICS to give us information about the work that they've been doing, confirm that we've got the appropriate indemnity insurances in place, and some of those individuals will be inspected. There will be our investigators who will go and bang on their door and ask to see their file and work through an individual file to proactively encourage appropriate behaviours by RICS valuers.
Now, from that perspective, for those who are listening, maybe have found a career fascinating, may be interested in a career, they want to get into becoming, a qualified valuer. What are the qualification skill sets? How do you train? How long does it take to qualify?
Again, picking that question up, the RICS, to become a member of the RICS, there are two grades of member, two principal grades of membership. There's a member and a fellow. A fellow's the old grey-haired person, a bit like me.
What if he has not here?
But for membership, normally there are various routes in, but normally it requires an accredited degree. but then critically you have to demonstrate your competence to be able to advise. So we have a competency framework which is tested post academic qualification, and it normally takes 2 years after qualification. So after your academic qualification, there's normally a 2-year period where you demonstrate your ability to act professionally and deliver competent services, and that's supervised by another chartered surveyor. So it's a detailed process. If there is anybody who's listening who would like further information, there's information on our website, or if they want to contact any of the local chapter or me personally, I'd be happy to point them in the right direction.
And the website is
www.rics.org.
rics.org. Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, Jim, we're seeing a lot of our people, whether they're accounting or economics, whether they do a degree in other areas, still degrees they can pursue, law even, but not necessarily have to remain in that field if they want to apply. It's a growing market. There's a need for valuers in all facets, but a professional designation is important.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there are the profession globally is quite active right now. The economy is good in many regions, and there's a lot of construction going on, and even in non-real estate aspects such as business valuation, financial instruments. Those are really fast growing parts of the greater valuation profession. And it really is, I like to think of what we do as property economics, as much as it is people think of surveyors as people with tape measures going around. But it's really what I do, at least, because our firm does a lot more on the commercial side, either commercial real estate, income producing, trade related, and actual business valuation. So we end up doing a lot more financial analytics. It's quite useful for someone that even has a finance degree or an accounting degree that wants to sort of morph their career in a different direction. But if you're starting before the university level, there are accredited degrees that RICS accredits in the greater surveying profession, and you pick the one that depends on what it is that you specifically want to do.
I think it's crucial for us, as parents, to encourage our children as teachers or students, and for those who are in their careers now and looking for, as you said, Jim, morph their careers in a different field, to not just be willing to look down the road and say, "Oh, this is what I'll do until I retire." Get up in the morning and punch the clock, and they can follow Jim. And some days they're tied in the office, and other days shorts in the field. Right, Jim?
That's right.
But James, thanks very much. Mr. It was always a pleasure, sir, and I greatly appreciate it. Hopefully the professional development, of course, often gives the members an opportunity to continue to hone their craft and appreciate the networking opportunities.
Thank you.
Looking forward to more opportunities to have you join us in the studio again, Joe.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right. Going to pause and take a break. When we come back, sometimes you just need a little scholarship, other times you just need a bit of encouragement. Well, we'll give you both when we return. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Community radio with a different appeal. The voice of the people. Security through adversity. Stuck on you. Radio for all time.
You're listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
An independent audit finds a sexual harassment claim against a senior member of the staff of the Port Authority without merit and unsubstantiated. That according to a short statement from the Port Authority released today. It said the review of the complaint from 9 female employees was conducted by the Cayman Islands Government Internal Audit Service after an online media report. In international news, a federal judge on Monday ordered a temporary halt to any deportations of reunited families who were separated by the Trump administration after crossing the southwest border. The American Civil Liberties Union had asked Judge Dana Sabra to delay deportations a week after reunification. The ACLU said in a court filing that its request is a response to persistent and increasing rumors that mass deportations may be carried out imminently and immediately upon reunification. The ACLU said parents need a week after being reunified with their children to decide whether to pursue asylum. A communist activist who has pushed for more police transparency said Monday that he's asked Chicago police for the body camera footage from all the officers at the scene where one of them fatally shot a black man over the weekend. William Calloway said a brief video released by police showing the view from one officer's body camera does not answer crucial questions, starting with the reasons the officers approached 37-year-old Harith Augustus on Saturday afternoon just before he was shot. Calloway also said that a police spokesman's explanation that the Augustus was exhibiting characteristics of an armed person does justify stopping someone in a city and state where it is legal to carry a concealed weapon. Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson said Sunday that detectives have found no documentation that Augustus had a concealed carry permit, but Calloway said there is no way officers at the scene could have known that when they approached him. Those are your latest headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm Shanda Gallego.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
The empowered woman. Performance-driven, strong-spirited. You need a ride to match your drive. Whether boss by day or mom by night, with lots of legroom and space for sports gear and other things. The new Ford EcoSport is built for you, and it's now on sale for only $22,000, saving you $2,900 off during That Motors summer sale. Stop by That Motors, where you can also save $3,000 off the new Ford Ranger XLT double cab truck. Just two of the many great deals going on now at That Motors on Walkers Road.
Radio Cayman, your number one community station, would like to remind you that we are in the hurricane season, and in order to survive a hurricane, you need to be prepared. If officials' sources say a hurricane is imminent, please board up or shutter up windows in your home or place of business. Remember to use good lumber, as makeshift boarding may actually cause more damage. Also put strong bracing on outside doors so that they are not blown off or blown in.
This hurricane advice was brought to you by Radio Cayman, your caring community radio station.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us as we continue not just learning and laughing, but sharing the wonderful company of our guests. Ms. Susie Soto and Mr. Ron Kipp joins us. And a special thanks, Ms. Susie, to you and Mr. Kipp for coming across. I mean, it's lunchtime. There are better things we could be doing, right? But appreciate you being here with us, because this, for us, is the best choice.
It's always good to share lunch with you, with no lunch. I mean, a no lunch, which is fine.
Yes, well. And special good afternoon to you, Mr. Kipp. Good to see you again, sir.
It's Ron. My father was Mr. Kipp.
And my dad tells me that too, you know. Mr. Kipp is my son, he says. No, but, you know, when we think of sort of scuba diving in Cayman, I think, you know, without question, Mr. Bob's name is always sort of front and center, and I think very next to and near is Mr. Kipp's as well. You know.
Well, I want to introduce the Bob Soto Memorial Scuba Scholarship, which is going to be presented at the Marriott at the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame on September 14th Friday, so people should come out and go to it. It's going to be an amazing evening, and hopefully I want to get in touch with some of these certified young Caymanians out there that they can get a scholarship to go on to be an instructor. And very excited about doing it. So if anybody wants, can they call in?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If they can call in, I've got applications for them here. I can leave them with Dwayne. And very simple to apply for. And I'm excited about it. And I think there are some young people out there that we may have missed since school closed. Mm-hmm. But now we're making a real effort to get in touch with any of them out there. So if you know of any young people that have been sparked by the scuba bug, let them know.
Mr. Kip, from the perspective of those, I'll fix it for
I'm
you.
available at Susie Soto at candw.ky.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. When we look at scuba diving, Miss Susie, there are many perhaps younger people who don't necessarily appreciate not just the great reward, financial and personal, but a great way to serve the country, whether the rescue divers as part of the marine attachment, whether it's the individual who's exploring for maritime archaeology and the like.
There's so much now, Dwayne. Mm-hmm. Look at, I have to mention Central Caribbean Marine Institute and my buddy Carrie Manfrino, what she's doing over there. And I mean, they've got divers that are that they bring in that are professors, actually, well-trained, and they go out counting the fish. There's so much research being done in the Cayman Islands now. They're counting the parrotfish, my ones I always want to save, the parrotfish, and look what they've done with the lionfish. And you've got my friend with CITN that does a lot of that work.
Yes, ma'am. Now, from the
with the lionfish, and you know that the population is going down.
Well, that's encouraging.
It is encouraging.
Mr. Ron, when we look at scuba diving, into those younger individuals who may, sort of do on a weekend a little recreational diving, friends come down, maybe they want to introduce their family to scuba diving. For them to take this as a profession, what would you say to them?
Well, it's the most underrated activity in the Cayman Islands, and we have the finest destination in the world. I have dove all over the world, personally, 7,500 scuba dives.
Oh.
And there's no place better to dive than the Cayman Islands. And when you think about it, there's people in, especially North America, that are saving their money on a weekly basis in order to come down and spend 1 week in the water here. And local people could just jump in whenever they want to. The other thing about it that is misunderstood is the financial aspects of it. The entry level of a dive master is not very high. I agree with that. It's a lifetime job. No, I don't mean a lifetime. I mean
it can be a lifetime job.
Well, I mean, yes, it can be, but I mean, it's something that people want to do when they're there. There's a lot of people sitting in little cubicles right now, looking out the window, saying, "Golly, I wish I was a dive master in the Cayman Islands." But if you stick with it and you've got the education, which is essential, then you can become quite prosperous.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. I always remember some of the stories you shared with us.
Ron came. Bob started business in 1957, and as most people are aware, and he just had a hard time trying to convince people then, because he said that when he went around to the hotels to get guests, the hoteliers said, "Don't come in here and take my guests out, try and drown them." So, but when they got down in the water and they saw the beautiful magic of the underwater world and felt Actually, the most amazing feeling is when you're scuba diving and you're weightless and you're floating in a very quiet, beautiful land of magic. You know, it's an amazing thing to do.
And the important thing is that it all got started by Bob Soto on a worldwide basis. You go any place in the world where there's scuba diving, and they'll know who Bob Soto is. It just doesn't get any better than that. It really is. And I was such a lucky person to be able to follow him because the success was already pretty much guaranteed.
I mean, he was a pioneer. It's something that if you don't mind, I think many people in Cayman specifically not only do they not know that, they don't appreciate the significance of it. You said, without exaggeration, that globally, the name scuba diving and Bob Soto are synonymous. Now, our children are probably studying about Jacques Cousteau and all the others.
Yeah, well...
His name is just as popular as Cousteau.
Yeah. That's not an exaggeration.
Well, it you know, right now, I'm not sure how many out of 10 would know who Bob Soto is. I think when a person, you know... What is it when you fade away? So I want to make sure he doesn't fade away with the scholarship coming up.
Okay, so the impetus then for the scholarship.
So we can honor him every year. Yeah. He needs to be honored every year, not only with the scuba scholarship, but what he did for the Tradition Monument. When we worked together for 5 years on the memorial, on the Tradition Monument. And there's 477 Caymanians that were honored, and every name is correct, and every schooner that is there is correct. And we did all the studying for that. Actually, Bob Rays did the funding for it, and I was the researcher. Amazing things to learn. And so it's that passion with the sea. It's a love of what Cayman is, founded on the sea. And if you're missing out on it, you're missing out on what being Caymanian is.
Well, so help us then, because I think there are some of us who have our sea cards and who scuba dive, some of us who had. We've never been recertified in the longest time because, as you said, we live here. It's right there. We don't partake. And then there are those who will save for years for 1 week. And we could do more diving, in a day than they'll get to do sometimes all year. A bit of an exaggeration.
Correct.
But we don't partake. Now, what is...
Shocking.
Yeah. What do you think, Mr. Kip? Maybe I'll ask you first. Why is it that there's such an impediment from the local community, the Caymani people specifically, towards getting into diving? I know you have said something, Ms. Souza, but Mr. Kip, you've been there.
Well, the world changes, and today, scuba diving is not as popular as it was in the 1980s. Today, kids, instead of going and doing the work, doing the theory, and doing the pool work, are sitting in their basement with their little iPhones.
You shared earlier that the intelligence, or the education specifically, perhaps people don't appreciate that there is a great deal of intellect, not just the calculations in terms of your dive time and how you mix and everything, but could you emphasize more, Mr. Kip, on that acumen that you would need, that education, in order to be not just successful, but safe as well?
What I meant by education was education to prosper in the industry.
Yeah.
Scuba diving is rather simple.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go too deep, don't stay too long. There's a few other little things to it, but that's about it.
Yeah.
And if you just use good common sense and don't break the rules, you're going to be just fine. Trust me, you've got more of a chance of getting hurt crossing West Bay Road than you do going scuba diving.
That's true.
It's there, but it's a tremendous profession to get into. If you can have the best of both worlds.
Now, this was the Bob Soto Memorial Scuba Scholarship. Obviously, you were sharing with it and that passion, that love, and the need to be able to encourage, but also to fund those individuals. What are you looking for in recipients?
I'm looking for, we're looking for some young people who are passionate. We've had, I learned recently that the Central Caribbean Marine Institute has trained 40 John Graves students, and they are certified, and they are also trained in rescue diving. So I think that's an amazing thing, and I'd like to reach some of those young people to go on for instructors training, because I have seen videos of them, and they're so excited about scuba diving, and excited now, not just scuba diving or taking pictures, but they've gotten interested in building the reefs. They've gotten interested in saving the grouper, and they've gotten interested in the things that are happening underwater, and saving our reefs. This is the year of the reef. So there's lots of it's grown. It's not just going in to take pictures, or it's grown. There's more work to be done. Look at the culling, and Joe Avery's the one that's been championing the culling for those lionfish, and I think that's taken off in an amazing way. And so there's more to do underwater here now. And the Department of Environment has many scuba divers that are working, and they're doing a lot of research as well. So the research under the sea has grown tremendously from when Bob started.
Well, when we look at it, we probably know more about other
He used to say he started the environment and saving the reefs and everything. He used to tell people it was illegal to take anything from the sea, and it really wasn't. But
well, we tell people things like that all the time. No, there's nothing that makes a person more environmentally aware than become a scuba diver. Mm-hmm. I know it did to me. I couldn't shoot a fish if I had to right now. I wouldn't do it.
Oh,
I couldn't shoot anything, but especially underwater. And I did start out spearfishing. And that's how the industry really got started in California, was spearfishing. But now it's photography and video. And
I think, too, as you shared, people are starting to understand that, the underwater world, as it were. We talk about it being 70% of the planet is covered by water. The importance of not only preserving, protecting, but understanding what happens there. That ocean-going vessel may need repair. It's probably easier if you're properly skilled and qualified.
Oh, yes,
dive,
I would think so. Yeah. When we sailed for a year and a half in a sailboat, it was a good thing. Mm-hmm. He was a scuba diver. Had to go work on the prop and the engine and whatever,
You see the recreational individual who may just want to, clean the boat bottom, as it were, find it convenient to take the tank and not have to be coming up and holding your breath.
Well, back to Bob Soto. Mm-hmm. I'd like to know, and maybe your listeners could tell me, why there isn't a proper monument at Heroes Park for Bob Soto.
Well, as you asked that question, Ms. Susan.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. That's
well, we know
shocking.
You'll agree,
I'm glad
Susie,
you.
But the thing is, I mean,
I was hoping somebody'd say that sometime.
But as Mr. Kipp just shared, right? No exaggeration. You said internationally, his name is Jacques Cousteau, and others probably in the same category. If you go internationally versus locally, he's much more respected, known, revered, as it were, than here. Is it because of what the scripture says? A prophet is not without honor, save in his own country. He's right there. He's so and so. He's such and such. We don't appreciate our own.
That's got to be true. That's got to be true. And we have the finest island in the world. I wouldn't live in the Caribbean if it wasn't for the Cayman Islands. I've been here 30 years now. I had 23 consecutive one-year work permits, so I paid my price. But Cayman is a different part of the Caribbean than the rest of the Caribbean, and we got a lot going for us. And Bob Soto helped make that happen, starting in 1957.
Yeah, I remember something you shared. First, it was a DEMA conference, and then once was one of those tourism things. And This isn't verbatim, but this was I took it, words to the fact that, the Cayman Islands is in the Caribbean or not necessarily of the Caribbean. The thing that you just shared, we're different. There's something different about how we have. With Bob Soto and, what he has done, and perhaps through his legacy is continuing to do.
That's what I want to make sure, because it's just different now. With as Ron said, the kids are sitting down doing all these IT things that are very frustrating for me. But
is it then that from the perspective, someone who wants to be a lawyer, an accountant, a doctor, an engineer, a teacher, there are, whether it's a full scholarship or whether you're working your way through school and whether you do it full time or you do it over an extended period, there is a financial cost.
Yes, to go on and be an instructor, and then the world opens up even more for going into perhaps marine biology and things like that. So lots of young people are going into it. And some of these kids that I've seen that have taken these courses and have been gotten very, very excited about doing it. Going on.
From the perspective of the potential scholarship recipient, do you require, I'll use the word prerequisites, for instance.
I've got a scuba an application form, and they can send it to me at Susie Soto at candw.ky, or there's also Rod McDowell, but I can't, I don't know, I've misplaced his email.
Well, just drop it by Red Sail.
Yeah,
Rod's been a tremendous
supporter
with Susie for this. I'm kind of an interloper because Rodley is in Tampa, but you got to remember I hired Rod McDowell as a dive master 30 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And now I work for him.
Is that what it is? Now, are you asking of the potential applicant that they should first have certain criteria, qualifications?
Yes, they need to be a certified scuba diver. So they need a certification. I guess you'd say PADI, or
PADI's a big name, but it's so easy. It's about 5 days of work.
So the basic open water certification?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So once you have that, then...
Yeah, they could do it. And the deadline is September 1st because this thing is being awarded on September 14th. So it's kind of... we had to get government approval and everything. And so it's been a real rush to put it together. So, and also that... the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame still has an exhibit at the Cayman Islands Museum downtown, and it's featuring Bob and some of the other inductees and some of the local ones as well. Ron is also a member of the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame. So they should get down there to see it because they're dismantling it at the end of October, and then there will not be another display of the Scuba Diving Hall of Fame here until perhaps the government and private sector work together to get an International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame built, which I would certainly hope could be done, and which Bob was so excited to see done when the idea came up, I think, 18 years ago now. So for 18 years, it's been going on to be inducting people. And each person that has been inducted, including all the Custos, Jock as well as Jean Michel and his sons, other sons, and they have given a lot of artifacts, which are extremely interesting. You need to at least go see the first wooden flippers that were done, and then the lady diver from Australia, her name escapes me now, but her shark suit is in there, her wire shark suit. But it's very interesting. Also, Lloyd Bridges, some stuff about Lloyd Bridges there and his Sea Hunt, was it?
Yes.
Called? Yes, and I was honored to be on the boat where we did spread his ashes in Cayman waters. Part of his ashes are spread here. Ron, you were there too, weren't you?
No, but my ashes will be spread here.
Oh, okay.
I hope not this week.
I was going to say,
God,
not today,
me.
Okay. Well, we're speaking to Mr. Ron Kipp, Miss Susan Soto about the Papa Soto
So I'm
Memorial
hoping they
School.
could get to see something at the museum before it's taken down.
Yeah. Well, when we come back from our break, then, can we ask you more about it specifically?
Sure.
What you will require of the recipient?
Sure.
I can answer it in one word. Attitude.
Attitude, all right.
Oh, yes.
The skills we can train.
Yeah.
Attitude.
Okay.
If you get the right attitude,
It'll take you everywhere.
You'll
huh?
get the scholarship.
All right. We'll tell you about it and when we come
Right.
back. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions. Sure. What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's new kitchen and bath center.
Optical Outlook is so wicked.
They're brilliant. Tremendous.
So hot.
They're awesome.
Yo, them cool.
They're sweet.
Just ice, mate.
I love them like cooked food.
Head to Optical Outlook and find many designer brands for men and women. Sun safety and eye health care never look so good. They'll be able to help you find the best fit for your face and budget. Call 746-2020 and book your eye exam today. Come see the difference with Optical Outlook and make sure to follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Don't forget to tune in every Monday through Friday for the 7 a.m. news, brought to you by Cayman National Bank, proudly serving the Cayman Islands since 1974. Visit Cayman National Bank today for all of your financial needs.
Nursing, education, social work, media studies, hospitality, electrical, plumbing, AC. Wow, I didn't even know that the University College of the Cayman Islands offered all that.
Yes, all that and more, as well as event management and QuickBooks. They also did customized training for our staff last month. Hey, didn't your son just graduate from high school? Take him so he can apply for the fall semester.
Pursue your academic and professional goals at UCCI. Admissions are ongoing. Classes start August 27th. Visit them or call 623-8224 to learn more.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us as we have the good company of Ms. Susan Soto and Mr. Ron Kipp as we tell you about the Bob Soto Memorial Scuba Scholarship. Miss Susie.
Well, I'll tell you what. Bob's son, Renee Soto, has helped me with this as well. And what Renee said is my father would have wanted the criteria to be set high, as he always strived to show and promote Cayman in the best possible light. The individual receiving this opportunity should have some level of confidence, intelligence, and integrity to represent Cayman to the public and promote Cayman, which is what Bob did so well. So that is a good thing to go by. However, we would like them to write a brief essay on what has motivated you to apply for the scholarship, approximately 250 words. And then they send it in and we look. And so we need certification and basically, are you Caymanian, a status holder, or permanent resident? So it's open to all of those. And basically your name, everything else.
Now the recipient, the successful recipient, some scholarships will cover this, and this, will be for this period.
The instructor's training.
Okay. That'll take roughly.
And who knows what can come of this. Perhaps we could go farther. I would like to be able to send them on to college to be, a marine biologist. That would be great. That would be my goal. But I've got to start. I got to start somewhere. This is all I could do this short a time. But then they need to support the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame. They need to come to this. This is an international thing that is so well revered by the people coming. And we've got people coming from Russia, Germany, USA this year, Indonesia. And it's so interesting what each of these people has dedicated to his life, to the work for underwater work in the world. And so amazing people that are coming. And they come here, and there's hardly any Caymanians there to see and to meet these people.
Well, it's one of the best kept secrets on the island.
Yeah, thank you.
Nobody. I've had 15 phone calls from people I know in the dive industry saying, "How do I get tickets? Where do I go?" We have to tell people about it, and that was always.
Yeah. But why is that, Mr. Kim? Why? Because as you shared, the best kept secret. I mean, here's this thing that is, from an international perspective, has the appeal and the respect, but locally it's probably not promoted, supported to the extent that you're a champion.
Just tell people when it is, what it costs, where it is. It's not that hard to do.
It's $75 for the dinner, a lovely dinner, and it's at the Marriott, and on September 14th. And you can get tickets through the Department of Tourism, through Gary Dominguez. I can't get that out through Gary. And I mean, I'm sorry that information hasn't been.
From as we look at the importance of perhaps water sports, generally speaking, whether it's scuba diving or whether it's snorkeling, to the tourism product and industry, to the Cayman economy in terms of employment, in terms of the financial contribution. We're seeing, and you've said it very directly, that the Caymanian populace has not taken this on as a profession.
Not as a profession, and that's why 99% of all of the scuba instructors and dive masters are expats.
Right.
Yeah.
We have the scholarship to instructor level, but to that young individual there, whether it's the student getting ready to graduate, whether it's the person in the working environment who may enjoy water sports, may enjoy, snorkeling, diving, may even be just a basic open water, but they don't see the benefit. They don't perhaps feel that this is an industry for me. What can we do to make that attractive to those people, to those Caymanians?
I don't know. Just get more interest.
Take them on a tour to Rod McDowell's house and my house.
Oh, there you go.
Not living in a tent.
Yeah.
And really, it can be quite lucrative. If I was 20 years old again, this is exactly where I'd start. I left a very high-paying job with IBM after 15 years. Very high-paying. 15 years of marketing management experience. And came here and bought Bob Soto's Diving and paid myself about 1/10 or less than I was making. Never had more fun and eventually never made more money.
Now, the people...
Let me tell one thing. They can get tickets, www.isdhf, International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame.com/2018. So I think, and anybody can email or call me 916.
Can't they get tickets at Red Sale too?
Yes, Red Sale.
Oh, yeah, Red Sale, right there.
Actually, they're
in
not.
a shopping center. You just park your car, walk up the stairs, put your money down, and get a ticket.
Oh, I don't think the tickets are ready yet, so...
Well, why don't we wait till the very last minute?
Yeah,
then we won't sell
there
any.
You go.
That's why he's the marketer.
Just call the Department of Tourism.
Right. Now, as we're looking at our economy, we're talking about whether it's the government, whether it's the private sector consultants, or whether it's a potential politician, or diversify. Whether it's the investment advisor telling this client, portfolio diversified is a much more, sort of stable approach. For that, Caymanian specifically, in this case, as you said, you're legally here, you're permanent resident, status holder, otherwise, the scholarship is open to you. We need to get them attracted and motivated to see the potential. Let's look at your success, yours, Rod's, and others who've been there. It's evident. Is that an anomaly, or is that possible for the right person with the right attitude, willing to put it in that work?
Well, you do work awful hard, but find a job that you love and you'll never have to work again.
That is true.
And I did, and they can, if they really enjoy the water, the underwater world, and taking their money to the bank. Because all those things can happen.
And you're healthier. Bob Soto, at 88, was told he had the joints of a 26-year-old. That's amazing. He was in wonderful shape.
Yeah. Well, you can attest to that, right?
So, yes, I can.
Now, but from that perspective, though, is it then, you shared earlier that young individual isn't drawn to scuba diving. The people who scuba diving, 80s and 90s, the heyday was there. It's not now. What is it that is...
I think in the older days, they dive companies got together more often. I'm not sure now what's happening. I don't think...
I can tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
In the old days, like 1980s...
Right.
We did get together, and we promoted the Cayman Islands as well as our individual operations.
Right.
We did it at DEMA. We did it all over the United States. Northwest Airlines flew us many places gratis. And we went with DOT in many cases. Scuba diving was an integral part of the tourism business in the Cayman Islands. It still is, but it's not high as a percentage of the financial end of it because of the financial business has grown by leaps and bounds, and there's big money there, big money right off the bat. But still, a large percentage of the people that come to Cayman come to dive, like 100% to Little Cayman, probably 75 or 80% to the Brac, probably 35 or 40% to Grand Cayman. And that's, and we've done that quite well, and a lot of it was from the direction of Bob. Bob's the man that bought the Oro Verde for $1 from the government, went out at high tide and brought it off the reef, brought it around, and sank it off of 7 Mile Beach, and it was a fantastic dive destination for its lifetime, which was 25 years. Now we've got the Kitty Wake. Unfortunately, the government had a chance to have 5 wrecks. But the politicians didn't see a lot of votes in 5 wrecks, so we don't have 5 wrecks. We have 1 wreck, the Kittiwake. And Bob, while he didn't do the Kittiwake, he started it with the Ora Verde. And
we see the success on the BRAC with the old Russian destroyer back in the 90s. The Captain MV Keith Tibbets.
I think there needs to be some more togetherness with the scuba diving people, all the scuba diving people. Maybe they need to have a scuba diving gala or dance once a year or something to get them all together, because I don't think that camaraderie is there anymore.
Well, I don't want to get too controversial here, but there is a problem there that back in the old days, like the 1980s, we all recognized the need to promote the Cayman Islands.
Together.
And we did it.
Yeah.
Today, there's a lot of small operators, 6-pack boats. They can take 10, 12 divers a week out. They're relatively happy. My company, in its prime, used to take 100 divers every morning off the beach of the Holiday Inn. And that translated to a very profitable operation.
So it isn't that the competitive element, it's the lack of camaraderie. Is that then, and Mr. Kip, I think many would recognize, it's not that you mean to be controversial. You bring a sense of knowledge and experience in the industry. It wasn't just your business acumen and marketing prowess. It was, no, this is being parlayed. Maybe when we come back from our break, can we talk specifically more about the Memorial Scholarship, talk about Mr. Soto, but for the country, public and private sector, that individual, to appreciate what this could mean for that future leg of the economy. Please stay tuned for Talk Today. As we come back, we'll conclude our discussion.
Sometimes having a middleman is not a bad thing, especially when it comes to insurance. Do you know that when it comes to cost, ease, speed, and peace of mind, insurance brokers ranked higher than when customers buy direct? So, for all your insurance needs, call Fidelity Insurance. We're the middleman you want. Call us today at 949-7822. Fidelity. We're good for you.
King Sports Center's Art of Fun Summer Camp is back from July 3rd to August 3rd. Now in its 14th year, the Art of Fun Camp is ideal for kids aged 5 through 10 with activities from football, basketball, dodgeball, squash, rock climbing, arts and craft, dance, singing, and more. Your child can stay cool while having fun in a safe and secure environment. For more info, email kings.brebanks@gmail.com. That's kings.brebanks@gmail.com. Or call 946-KING, like King's Sports Center on Facebook, and you can also find them on Instagram, or call 946-5464. King's Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
On a daily basis, making it easy to connect with you, our listeners. Add us to WhatsApp today, 925-3261. That's 925-3261.
Radio Cayman.
Send a text or voice note.
Can I send a request, please?
You don't really have to ask us. Just send a request.
This is a shout out to my ex.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman, maintaining the innovation.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today as we continue our discussion with Ms. Susie Soto and Mr. Ron Kipp. If you want to participate in the discussion, 949-8037. You can WhatsApp 925-3261. Or you can call us toll-free at 1-800-534-8255. We're speaking about the Bob Soto Memorial Scuba Scholarship. And as Ms. Susie shared, it's going to be almost a launch inaugurated. What's the best word at this year?
Yes, it'll be at the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame, which is, at the Marriott every year. They do a great job, and it'll be on the 14th, and it's $75 a ticket. So more people need to come out. For instance, this year we have somebody from Russia coming, as I said, who is a famous diver all over Europe. He's one of the most famous divers all over Europe. In 1965, his dedication to the sport led Poratov to establish Scuba Diving Club Dive. And it was one of the first, and he's chairman, and they do training still and all of this. But, it's a lot of very interesting people. And also, remember, we get their artifacts, too, as well. So the artifacts that have been collected, I think there must be rooms full of them by now. And we need a Hall of Fame to put them in. Like people go to the Baseball Hall of Fame in the States. Where is that? And one in Cleveland?
Cooperstown.
Cooperstown, New Jersey?
I don't know where.
The town. Okay, there was one in Ohio, the Football Hall of Fame. We've got the Scuba Diving Hall of Fame, and people would come from everywhere. If it was a nice big building, there would be weddings there. You have a restaurant there. You have places, and they do functions there. Weddings, anniversaries. They go to Hong Kong now, and they have these big scuba diving conferences. And DEMA, for instance, and that could be a lot of business, and it would refresh the income for the scuba diving industry here. Because people come, and we go to Orlando or Las Vegas for these things, and some of these things that are happening, I know the watch, I can't say the name of it. Do you remember the name of the watch that does this thing in Hong Kong every year?
No, Rolex. It's not Rolex, is it?
No, Blanc.
Is it a watch or a pen?
Mont Blanc.
Mont Blanc is a pen?
Yeah, I can't say the word, but anyway, I can say Rolex better. But anyway, so our government is, concentrating on other things. Scuba diving has dropped down to the number 7 attraction to the Cayman Islands, and it should still be up there, at least second to the financial industry. But we need to invest in getting a proper Hall of Fame. They've got like 90 people to put in there with their pictures, and it has to be permanent. A Hall of Fame has to be a permanent thing. You don't just put them up for a few months or a year like Bob's been put up there now. I'm grateful that he's been put up. I'm grateful for the display that's been up for, a year and a half or 2 years now. And it's coming down, but it's coming down, and then there's nothing again. So it's heartbreaking for me to see it. But if you haven't been, for heaven's sakes, go down there and see it before it's gone.
We have to in October
and there's lots of Caymanians in there in the local industry recognized for their work in the water sports.
Now, as you were sharing, Ms. Susie, the Bob Sotos Memorial Scholarship, the deadline is
September 1st, and anybody can call me, 916-1512. I'm available most all the time, except if I'm working out or trying to swim or something like that. But I'm passionate about this, and it terrifies me to see it losing ground, or I don't know.
Well, it's
not losing ground.
The island is growing, in case you haven't looked around.
Yeah, I looked around.
Okay, and
you're going to have trouble riding home now. And anyway, I agree. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Scuba diving has remained rather static.
Yeah, yes, true.
So it will slip like that. But look at Stingray City, the most popular diving.
Yeah, true.
Most popular place there is in the whole Caribbean.
Yeah. And the East End divers are doing great stuff out there, too. Now, And like I've learned there was a ray that comes up every Christmas, the Christmas ray. And he's 10 feet across, and he comes up every Christmas day in Cayman, comes up from the deep. That's exciting. Some of these things are very exciting, and who knows about them?
No. Not many of us, huh? But see, this is where having a scholarship, appropriately named after Mr. Soto.
I'm hoping I can get it for more than one person. I'm hoping I get some more young people to apply. We just released this last week, so we're getting started. And I've got scholarships. I'll be happy to email them to anybody.
Yeah. And it's going to be one
drop them off. I'll bring them to
one
them.
Recipient every year.
Every year, I'm hoping to do it. Yeah, and if it warrants it to continue on and enlarge it. My son Chris, he was so excited about it. He said, "Mom, you should do a whole class on it." Chris went. He got a little crazy about it. He said you should do it twice a year and get equipment and books and things from Patty and get donations. And he's right. It could grow into something big if we would do it. Maybe a Bob Soto scuba diving school here, or instructors.
Well, it's part of a nation honoring and respecting its own, a nation understanding the value of its resources.
I certainly must say I like Ron Kipp's idea of Bob Soto being the hero square.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that is so obvious. It just
yeah.
disappoints me every time I drive by there. And there's a lot of famous people there, a lot of good people there. But Bob should be there.
I agree.
All right. Well, I'm hopeful that as people consider, not just their career choices, but enhancing their chosen career, that this would be a way for them to appreciate that they can find not just the financial assistance, but also the other important support that comes as well. Having the money is one thing. Other times, having the resolve, having the people to champion, to mentor, and the like. You have until the 1st of September to apply. And from there, then they can move forward.
Yes, so I'm excited about it. And I hope I get to hear from some young people soon.
It's money. It's money. You apply and you get it. You just are getting a good chunk of money, or in the form of education and opportunity.
And that's the thing, the opportunity, because with this, then you can, many times they look at people who will tell you that, they've gone, hope people don't see this as being derogatory, but they'll be able to relate to it. While working, they've done evening courses, they've had to, travel long distances, make significant sacrifices.
Right, right. And here
them.
We are. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Here we are, just a few feet from the sea.
No.
And one of the few places in the world where you don't have to have a 5-hour boat trip or 4-hour boat trip to get to your dive destination.
Yeah, and when you do,
it's amazing 3 islands, the most amazing 3 islands in the world, and each island, Little Cayman offers a different aspect. Cayman, Brac, and Grand Cayman all have different. I have a son who was an instructor and helped put himself through law school, and he goes scuba diving every weekend. He and his family, his wife and his kids, and they put on the tanks and go every Saturday or Sunday.
But there are so many of us who will go out scuba diving for the recreational, the relaxing, the way to bond as a family, to reconnect, to appreciate the natural environment. But Mr. Kipp, as you shared, not many see the reward, the financial reward, as well as the rest, the importance to the industry. As we close out our discussion, for people that are listening, they're thinking that this scholarship could be that thing that changes their lives for the better. What would you say to them to get them to consider applying?
Doesn't cost anything. Go for it. If you can't write 250 words, maybe you need to go find some other place to work because that's not that hard.
Yeah. So the opportunity is there. Just take it up, huh?
Yeah, the opportunity is there, and the location is here. The people are here. Yeah. Susie's given this a lot of work, and by the way, a lot of money. And Rod McDowell has too. I'm kind of an outsider, but I'm.
No, you and Barry Quape have helped in all my emails and my suggestions, and Renee.
I have a full-time assistant just to read your emails.
Hey, be careful. Listen, you want to walk? Didn't she just tell you?
Yeah.
Okay, Rod, if you're nearby, you better come now.
He's not nearby.
I know
he's got to count on me today.
I feel for you, sir. No, but I'm hopeful that people see the importance. We look at the different professional organizations, the different corporate entities, individuals, government, who fund scholarships and training for other individuals. Perhaps there are some who should look at this, that may be a recreational activity, something that it could be very, very rewarding, and have the resource available to them. So if they want information, Ms. Susie, they can email you, they can go by.
Definitely, you know I'm available.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing. And I think it's just another way for the community to understand that as we look at potential careers, as much as we promote that,
I'm excited to meet some of these youngsters.
Well,
I know they're out there. I just need to find them.
All right. Well, a scholarship that puts you in a good state that you can practice here. I use the word practice because some people don't appreciate what it requires.
They can travel,
or they can travel with it.
Yeah, they can travel anywhere. Really.
Yeah. Well, you talked today for having us here and letting us espouse our cause.
Appreciate it very much. And
thanks the Cayman Islands government and Sterling, always to you.
It's a pleasure, Mom. And I'm hopeful that people will see that the opportunities are here, that your example will encourage others to set up, other endeavors to enhance the educational offerings of our people. And, whether it's in an area that is underserved or isn't as yet.
And by the way, I have to thank the government because they've supported the project completely.
It's a wonderful
the Department
endeavor.
of Tourism. And Minister Moses Kirkconnell's gotten some emails as well. And
all right.
I have to say he's been most gracious.
Well, we hopefully Ms. Susie would be able to follow in, the announcement of the recipient. Come on. Certainly if there's an opportunity to help to continue the call for applicants, we can offer that as well. And Mr. Ron, I hope you enjoy the rest of the afternoon, sir.
Oh, I will.
I know you will. Thank you, and to you too, Ms. Susie.
Thanks, Sterling.
All right. When we come back from our 2 p.m. headline news, please join us. We can do some open line. We can take your calls and talk about the issues. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. Headline. These are the biggest stories right now.
3 migrants have been released from the Immigration Detention Center and are currently housed in approved accommodations provided by the Department of Immigration. Acting Chief Immigration Officer Gary Wong says a full risk assessment was conducted, and although the detainees do not pose a threat to the community, in an effort to ensure public safety, they are being fitted with an electronic monitoring device so officials can observe their whereabouts and verify they are complying with the rules of their release. In international news, U.S. President Donald Trump today openly questioned U.S. intelligence agency conclusions that Moscow was to blame for meddling in the 2016 U.S. election. Standing next to the Russian president, Mr. Trump said there was no reason for Russia to meddle in the vote. The two men held nearly 2 hours of closed-door talks in the Finnish capital of Helsinki today. A U.S. federal judge today ordered a temporary halt to any deportations of immigrant families reunited after being separated by the Trump administration at the border. U.S. District Judge Dana Sabra imposed a delay of at least a week after a request from the American Civil Liberties Union, which cited, quote, persistent and increasing rumors that mass deportations may be carried out imminently and immediately upon reunification. Croatia rolled out a red cup and staged a euphoric hero's welcome for the national team today, despite its loss to France in the World Cup final. Tens of thousands of people wearing national red and white checkered colors and waving Croatian flags poured into the streets in the capital Zagreb to greet the team. Police say there were at least 250,000 people there and many more along the route. Those are your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman. We are Radio Cayman, and this is how we wake you up in the morning. Praise time on Radio Cayman.
Sing your praise to the Lord. Come on, everybody, stand up and sing one more. Hallelujah, give your praise to the Lord. United in Jesus Christ. We are the soldiers of the land.
Praise time.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
There's a meeting up in heaven. Roll call.
Praise time.
Jesus in the morning, yeah.
Weekday mornings from 6 until 6:30.
Your song flowed through my lips. Your work moved through my hands. Your thoughts stay on my mind. Live in me.
89.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecast, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen. Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Call 1-800-534-8255. That's 1-800-534-TALK.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Or you can email talktoday@candw.ky. Certainly invite you to be a part of our discussion, how you share with us. And if you so choose, you can send us your thoughts on the WhatsApp, 925-32621. As I look through a couple of these messages here, it is open line. Give us a call and share your thoughts with us. As we look at, comments that are being shared with our listeners, I want to remind you quickly, as Miss Susie Soto just shared, the Bob Soto Scuba Scholarship, Memorial Scholarship, is now open for applicants. The deadline is this 1st of September. Don't delay. It's, best always, as I said. Make hay while the sun shines. Others would say, strike, while the iron is hot. Well, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255 or WhatsApp 925-32-621. What's on your mind? Give us your thoughts and your view as we look at where so much of the things that are happening in our communities. Now, one listener via email keeps sharing the concern that in our community, we're oftentimes not as cognizant of the many issues that are affecting the country, from the people in the workplace who are feeling, well, there's a lot of talk about training and upward mobility, but as they come into work, they get caught up in the mundane task. That ambitious individual isn't as always embraced. If they're on the younger end of the sort of employment spectrum, they may be seen as brash or overzealous or perhaps even ambitious. If they're beyond their 50th birthday, people may be looking at them and saying, well, they're on that south side of the working paradigm, so let's not just embrace them too much and continue to invest. Example one individual shared was that there were a number of conferences being offered, not just those where you go and you sort of network, but despite that, great opportunity to develop greater professional relationships with some other colleagues, there were some workshops, and even after the offer by the employee to pay for the conference, was only asking, well, can I get this as work time as opposed to vacation time? It seemed that was a difficult sort of acknowledgement on the part of that particular employer, so much so that the employee shared that it seems that sometimes some employees, without question, will take advantage of the employer's generosity, but sometimes the employer isn't necessarily called out with respect to what is said publicly relative to what actually transpires within an organization, whether it's that small organization or the much larger. The supervisor at times seems to weigh in too heavily and be too subjective in whether an employee gets a promotion, gets a training opportunity, gets to sort of participate in value-added activities. To that point, the individual is saying, is it necessary then, just like you have associations for trade and professionals, in the absence of some sort of trade union, is there a way for employees to be much more protected, much more organized? Let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ebanks. Quincy here. How are you doing?
Okay, blessings to you and a pleasant good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. Glad to hear Ms. Susie Soto on just a while ago in the
Yes, sir.
talking tourism, the Hall of Fame, and yes, the late Bob Soto should be honored, even if we're going to do so posthumously.
Mm-hmm.
He should be honored and not forgotten. But then I think of stalwarts and Cayman Brack who have contributed in a major fashion to tourism, and again, they go unnoticed. What I like to call the unsung heroes of tourism.
Mm-hmm.
Persons like Lina Dixon Smith, who's now 95 years old, probably at home listening to her Radio Cayman Talk Today, who worked at the Buccaneers Inn. I think of persons who used to run the restaurants, the only food bus service, such as Willard Douglas. We used to call him Mr. Blackie. I mean, he would have served not only local but visitors alike. I think of so many. I can think of Miss MMA. I can think of Miss Odette. I could think of scores of persons who probably will not get any major awards, but they served the Cayman Brack and Little Cayman community with pride, with true Caymankind. I mean, that's a term we have coined now, Caymankind. I mean, they had it, our own people. You see, to this day, Mr. Ebanks,
mm-hmm.
I still take issue with going to a restaurant and being served by someone from New Zealand or Australia. I take issue with that. And I don't say that to be xenophobic or hateful toward foreigners. But how can we produce a Caymankind product if we don't have Caymanians producing it? That's the question, sir. What I have here in front of me, you see, and I realize you have other callers, so I can't take the full 15 minutes that you have remaining. I have some statistics. According to the Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Moses Kakano, 2017 has seen the most visitors in Cayman Islands history. In addition to that, more people are visiting Cayman Brack and Little Cayman. There has been a 22% increase for Cayman Brack. according to the official Ministry of Tourism statistics, 10,000 more people flew to the BRAC during the 2016-2017 tourism year. The problem we have, though, and the minister realizes this, the staff of the Department of Tourism realizes this, we are short of rooms. We have the Cayman BRAC Beach Resort, we have Carib Sands, BRAC Caribbean Villas, and countless amount of private homes and condos that are for rent. But we have a lot of people coming here, especially when we have fishing tournaments, BRAC Canal Carnival. If we have any sort of long weekend, any event that would draw a large crowd, people can't find places to stay. We have shortage of rooms. That's the problem. So one would think, Mr. Ebanks, that now is the time, local investment, foreign investment, to build more rooms since there is a demand. What sayest thou?
Would that demand, you certainly make a compelling argument, in your opinion, would that demand extend for most of the year, or would it be not just seasonal, but month-specific, event-specific?
I would say throughout the year. I mean, we do have high season like Grand Cayman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but Cayman BRAC and Little Cayman is being used as domestic staycation. So people from West Bay, Georgetown, Northside, they're coming over here on long weekends for retreats. We have a lot of churches coming over on retreats. So throughout the year, I mean, just look at the rental car companies. You know how difficult it is to rent a car? Because you can look, if it's a long weekend, and we have several long weekends during the calendar year where Monday becomes a holiday.
Wow.
You can guarantee Cayman Airways flights, whether that's the Twin Otter or the SAB 340, completely full. It's hard to get a seat. So there is a demand, and I know with the economy, some people might be a bit hesitant to invest, but now is the time to build boutique hotels. You don't need the large 5-star, 7-story hotels here. I mean, in time that will come, probably 20 years down the road. But for right now, more boutique hotels like the La Esperanza Hotel, the Featherstone Hotel, which is, a lot of people don't know about Featherstone. It's tucked away in a forested area here in Cayman BRAC in the Bight. Excellent place to stay. So, to boost the economy, let's get construction going again. You see?
Yes, sir.
There is an undisputable fact. Much more people are visiting Cayman BRAC. A lot of people are coming here. And you know that the Captain Charles Kirkconnell International Airport on Cayman BRAC was voted the best small airport in the entire Caribbean region. Yes?
And that just shows, as you shared, what, the BRAC economy could be, what the BRAC could offer to the overall enjoyment of the person's visit to the Cayman Islands. Vince, I appreciate you sharing. Any other thoughts you want to leave with us?
Yeah, just congratulations to people like Moss's Taxi Indoors, Carter Taxi, Terry Scott's Taxi, Maple, Singer Taxis. I mean, we were getting more taxis come on, and again, that falls under Moses Kirkconnell because he's also the Minister of Transportation. We now have a bus service. Yeah. You can catch a bus from West End to Spot Bay for $3. Kevin Foster runs.
Let me, if I may ask you, because you're not just very, very eloquent and articulate, you're also very informed, right? From your perspective, as we grow the BRAC economy, as we continue with the development, are there any, not just concerns, but words of wisdom, caution, things that you would share with government, with private sector, with the developer as well as, that would be entrepreneur, to make sure that we, for a very wide encompassing statement, we do it right?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear a word. I heard you back now, but what you're saying, sorry, is my volume turned down too low? Could you repeat that?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, when we continue with the pace of development, when we look at how we're going to develop on the BRAC and make sure that it is as beneficial as possible, are there any words of caution? Are there any things that you feel that, would be good advice to follow to make sure that we do this thing properly so that it is, what's the word that we use so much now? Sustainable.
Sustainable, yeah, that's a term that's used quite a bit by tourism officials. We want sustainable development for Cayman BRAC and Little Cayman. I think we have the chance to get it right, because we look at our big sister. Mm-hmm. We look at our big brother. I don't know, you want to talk feminine, masculine. We look at Grand Cayman, and we can see what happened there. The big rush of overnight development and becoming a financial center, we can weigh the pros and cons, and perhaps too many of our people have been left behind. I mean, we look at the days, the 1970s and 80s, Galleon Beach, the original Holiday Inn, staffed by Caymanians. That's no longer the case, unfortunately. We have a chance to get it right here. Unfortunately, people ask me, Quincy, how is it like on Cayman Brac and Little Cayman? These are people living in Grand Cayman who've never come here. You'd be surprised. You have a lot of residents in Grand Cayman who's never come to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, something that needs to change. But it's the same thing. I mean, the same person working in the supermarket, waiting on tables, bartending, the majority are not our native Cayman Brac and Little Cayman people. We're having people from the same countries, that fill these positions. And if we want to get it right, the school leavers from Lehman East Scott Senior High School, the graduates from the Hospitality School of Studies from UCCI, these young persons must be our waiters and our waitresses, our bartenders, our hotel concierge, our hotel front desk receptionists, our own people. When will we get it? We do not need to recruit from Hong Kong, or we don't need to recruit from Australia. And this is not to bash those people, because we are international, I get that. But it's very frustrating when a man like myself, who does my research and work on contract when they come along, cannot land a full-time job in my country. Whether that's to wait on tables, a job that I've done before, or to be a concierge, a job that I've done before, or to work with DOT. Why the discrimination? But you see, most of my people would sit down under a mango tree with a bottle of rum and bicker about it. I don't drink any longer. But unlike me, I will leave, you see. I know I have options. I can go to other countries. But why should I?
Right.
And not even about me then. What about the younger people coming up? They need the training opportunities. The opportunities are there, let me say. Many of our own people need to avail themselves of these opportunities, because if we are going to sell Caymankind, we got to do it ourselves. Why are we begging in our own country? Why are we so readily available and so passive to receive the crumbs falling from Master's table? You see, we can get it right.
Yes, sir. I think, and we need to, and we should. Quincy, always a pleasure to get your perspective on. Thanks very much, all right? All right, let's pause quickly. It's a very short break, Ms. Susan tells me. So when we come back, more Talk Today.
Accidents can happen at any time and can leave a strain on you and your family. Be prepared with Workman's Compensation Insurance from Fidelity Insurance. Our brokers can help you meet your government requirements and ensure that you are covered should an accident happen. Don't leave it to chance. Email Fidelity Insurance at insure@fidelitycayman.com for a free quote. Get Workman's Compensation from Fidelity Insurance and get some peace of mind. Fidelity, we're good for you.
The time is now. The speed is here. March to the beat of the mobile revolution with Flow 4G LTE and a prepaid mobile combo plan. Activate a Flow prepaid mobile combo plan to get calling minutes and data in one convenient package, and every plan comes with double data. Enjoy the proven best overall experience in Cayman with a Flow prepaid mobile combo plan. Now with double data, coverage, value, speed. Flow 4G LTE. Always connected, always faster. Visit discoverflow.ky. Terms and conditions apply.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks so much for listening and sharing with us. I believe you have an opportunity to join another caller online, 1-800-534-8255 for those who want to join us. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Sterling Green. And I appreciate what Prince was saying a while ago. I know you don't have much time. I still more or less leave off much of what I was going to ask. He's right about, the people who are on notice or on not remembered stalwarts. There are many. I remember all the things my father did. Cayman Brac, as you're saying, my mother never went there until she was almost 80 years old. I took her there for a trip, and I hadn't been either. But many times that old one, but just something happened. But anyhow, that was some 30 years ago. Now, my father used to go off in his yawl that he built South Sound, launched it 20th of July 1932, was a great lifeline, one of the lifelines that came on back during the just after the hurricane, 1932 hurricane. I remember it very well. That's what my father told me about it and what it's anyway, that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And he's quite right. But what I'd like to let Vincent know and others know, those days of the 70s and 80s when we were predominant in the hotel industry and all that, and the classic years of Cayman, the late 60s and the late 70s, you'll never see them again. That won't happen again. It can't be 100% Caymanian employment. I don't see that ever happening again. And I'm returning to the dominance in the tourism. That can't happen. It won't happen. You've got to remember our population is quadrupled since those years, or maybe a little more than that. No other country has faced that. So we have a unique situation. And it just won't happen. Again, I can't see that happening. And you'll have to learn to fit in and live with that. Early on, you had your people there from the evaluations and started surveys. And I wanted to ask them what was their opinion of how the land values have moved from the same period there 45 years ago to now. I'm not talking about beach land. We know that is humongously more. But the ordinary land, inland, has moved from like $5,000 a lot and less to $68,000, $70,000 a lot now. Is it because of the do they factor in the cost of living into their evaluation? Is it the marketing forces? Is it real estate forces? Is it just sheer greed? Or is it because, as you see, the cost of living has, for the ordinary person, has not kept pace at all with the cost of land. So it has become unattainable for young Caymanians. If their parents or grandparents or uncle or aunt hasn't left them a piece of land, they'd never be able to buy a piece of land and build a house that for their average Caymanian. I just wonder what would be your thoughts on that. What has caused that sort of escalation? Other than the park in town, we know the humongous value of land for banks and so forth, and the financial world would escalate to astronomical prices. But I just wondered about that.
If I could also, if you respectful, if I could also share this email with you and our listeners and get your input. I'll read it as it was sent to us. Says, hi, I was recently charged $600 by my bank to obtain a valuation for my house. They advised that I'll be contacted by an undetermined valuation company. It turns out I was contacted by the same company who had hired the previous year and was only charged $250 for the same house. Now, to your point, we're seeing people looking at the valuations and trying to understand some of the differences, but in this whole process, and with the price of land, with the varying valuations, with the state of the economy, how cognizant do you think, how confident are we as a public to speak publicly about some of these things as you share?
This is a dilemma here. With the financial world, I mean, what's happened to us here to focus on money? It's very difficult. Sterling Dwayne to determine these factors. But I listen on if someone else has an opinion. I don't want to give my opinion of many of the things or my ideas about food.
Yes.
And what is happening really. I don't really want to do that. But I know privately maybe I can tell you. I think. Have a wonderful day. I listen on.
All right. Well, thank you very much for not only listening and sharing and calling, but for your insight and your patience when you do call. To our listeners, it's an opportunity for the public to be engaged, to offer the wider listeners an opportunity to hear your perspective. And I certainly invite you to do so here on Talk Today, but equally with Mr. Art Connor for the record. It's true public discourse, not just challenging, but championing certain things that we get to a point where we start to appreciate that if people aren't free to share their opinion, yes, they can be a difference of opinion. If it's done so respectfully, it could encourage others to have similar courage and values to speak up, stand up, and do the right thing. Now, it is for us to be a part of it and to start to celebrate our own, to value their contributions, to find ways to, whether we want to say monetize, brand, leverage, otherwise, help that to help our economy to continue to be sustainable, prosperous, and healthy. Not only because it makes good financial sense, but it helps to promote, to encourage, to nurture, to motivate our own people. In our closing moments, if you got a comment, a question, a query, something you want to share, hey, 949-8037, toll free with the compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. Likewise, you can always WhatsApp 925-3261. As I look at a couple of comments that were shared with us electronically, one individual is sharing, well, it seems that the more we look at some of the issues in our country and the more we start to appreciate input of others, there are those who still offer up more complete than constructive commentary. Well, see where that takes us. Let's take one more call. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Sterling, I agree with everything that Quincy was saying. I get up in the morning and I say my prayer, and I keep saying I don't know what is going to happen to the younger children of the Cayman Islands. I mean, there's no way that they will be able to purchase a piece of land, pay for a house, get a job. All you can hear, Caymanians are lazy. It's a good thing that Caymanians were lazy when they all found a way to work to bring in the foreigners so that they can have it now. If all Caymanians were lazy, we wouldn't be where we are today. You know, they put the vacancies out and they need people to work. They apply for these jobs. When the Caymanians go in, the job is already filled. Someone is taking the job. I mean, if you don't give a Caymanian a chance, you hear they need experience. How are they going to get experience if you don't give them a chance? You know, I've seen so much of this going on, and it's really ridiculous and really sad. We're going to be migrants in our own country pretty soon. You know, we're going to have to go places and look for jobs because right now, Caymanians are not able to get jobs that they are qualified for because they are paying the expats what you call chicken feed money. And when I say chicken feed, $3 an hour, $3.50 an hour, $4. Caymanians cannot live on that. We were never used to living like that. So something has to be done. I don't know what the MLAs are thinking or what they're doing, but they have to look around. They see what is happening. They know what is happening. But you know what? They're not even worried about the younger ones coming up. So I'm sad to say they better start to shape up or something else really bad is going to happen in this island. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Well, thank you for sharing that as well. And as I listen to the call, perhaps there's a time to maybe heed the concerns that to some great extent, there needs to be not just opportunities for people, but for the people to be able, through the attitude, and the willingness to apply themselves to capitalize on those opportunities. Now, when we get there, perhaps the concern that many have shared, we keep moving the goalposts. We keep making it harder and harder for individuals to excel and to succeed, and for them to believe at one point, well, this is what it takes, and then when they satisfy that, well, there's something else. Perhaps when all of us share equally. Perhaps in closing, I'm reminded of what Mr. Ron Kipp shared earlier, and that this is a great place in his mind, the best place. Now, maybe more of us who call this home would be more willing to publicly champion, what it has to offer. Let's take one final call. Hey, good afternoon, welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Hey, Sterling, good afternoon. I know you're about to end, but I wanted to call in and say that I totally agree with that lady that just called. Let me tell you, it is heartbreaking to see what is going on in our little island. It is heartbreaking. And the MLAs, most of them, are no help. They are definitely no help. I know that for a fact because I ask for help. We Caymanians, we are not looking no handouts. because I, for one, is a hard-working woman. I've been in one place now for nearly 30 years. And I go to my work. I had 8, almost 10 years straight without a sick day. But what is happening with our young Caymanians? They cannot get no jobs, like the lady said. They go, when they go, the most of their ads is for renewal. They doesn't state that they are for renewal, but when they go in, they are for renewals, for work permits. Nothing is being done about it, or MLAs are not doing nothing about it, and you ask them to even assist you if they know of anything, or nothing at all. Nothing at all. My area have the premier, and Austin Harris is Prospect, and Red Bay is my area, and you ask for help, and there is nothing. There is no one to help you. So you know what? I give up, and I say, you know what? I am going to fight and struggle, try and paddle the canoe on my own, help my grand and my children see what they can do. But you know, in Cayman, it is who you know, not what you're entitled to, or what experience or job that is there that you know that the person can do. It is all about who you know, or for the expat. And I am sorry to say, but it is the truth, and I really and truly I'm saddened, and I don't know what's going to happen, because so far the little island is gone. And like she say, we are going to be. You realize, Sterling? I'm wrapping up now, but do you realize that us Caymanian have to pay for? If we drink a glass of water, we have to pay for it. If we water our plants, we have to pay for it. If we bathe, we have to pay for it. Do you realize most of the expats that come here, everything is being paid for them? When I can tell you, I know, mostly everything are being paid for them, from school fees right back down to their cat litter. Anyway, thanks. I get that off my stomach today, because I'm getting angry, and I know there is other people getting angry, because I have children that can't get jobs. I have grandchildren that can't get jobs, and it is ridiculous. Anyway, I get that off now, and I feel a little better. You can close now in peace. Thanks for the time.
Thank you for sharing, and hopefully, by allowing to say, getting that off your chest helps you to be able to stay focused and maybe motivate others to, as you said, not to give up and to persevere. Hey, thanks very much for sharing with us. As we look at today and the promise of tomorrow, let's find ways that we can be of greater service. Not because you disagree with something, it doesn't make you a bad person. And if you agree with something and you don't fully buy into it, well, rethink, the reasons for it. You can champion and be independent, but you can be cooperative and have great success equally. Let's do what we can to make it a better day come tomorrow. Until then, be blessed.